Hello, dear friends and colleagues across the world. Pavel Krastev, DDS, here with you today from New Hyde Park, New York. Special thanks to the Thriving Dentist platform for inviting me to do this little brief tip that I will share with you guys. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a little very important and basic tip in implantology that I think all implantologists should follow. And also at the end, I'm going to mention something that I do in my practice that I find very helpful whenever we have a screw loosening problem, meaning when an abutment screw gets loose. So let's start from the beginning. So my main point that I like to make today is whenever you do an implant or implants, please always start with the prosthetics in mind. What I mean by that is that implantology should be, at least in my opinion and the opinion of many others, it should be prosthetically driven. What does that mean? That means try to imagine a tooth in the site that you plan to place your implant, and place your implant based on the ideal positioning of the tooth. Now, we all know that when you place a fixture, it can be the cement retained or screw retained. And that often leads to an angular change in the positioning of how we like to place our implant. So why is this very important? Because in many cases, we run into situations where, if you don't properly plan your case, you may end up delivering a prosthesis which perhaps is shorter than the adjacent teeth, depending on the anatomy that you're dealing with. You may have a situation, for example, if you have a lower canine or an upper canine with some recession and you place your implant behind it, very often the crown on the tooth that you're working on will look relatively short compared to, let's say, the canine. So in many instances, it's very advantageous, I should say, to discuss this with the patient and kind of explain to them what they can reasonably expect at the end of the restoration. Also, if you're doing a full arch case, we all know there's many ways to rehabilitate a full arch, but don't just jump in and see the bone and say, wow, we got great bone, this is going to be a full fixed case. Because in many cases, as the resorption process of the jaws goes in and up, very often, even if you do a full fixed case, you end up not having proper lip support on a patient. So it's very, very highly recommended that you do a proper setup without flanges, so you can show the patient, if we do full fixed, how will the lip support and structures be supported by the restoration. So in some cases, you're better off to do an overdenture and give the patient proper lip support as opposed to a full fixed case. So these things are done in the planning phases, and essentially you will end up with less headaches and less problems. So once again, the moral of the story in one sentence is plan your implant surgeries based on the prosthesis that you will plan in a particular case. And finally, what I do in my practice, in case we have a loose screw. Now, loose screws, real briefly, can happen in many implant systems. Some implant systems feature a 1 degree taper difference between the abutment and the conical connection or the hex connection, and they form a cold weld. But in some cases, when you do get a screw loose, it's important to note where is the hole of the abutment. So what I do when I insert a case, before I actually cement the crowns, I always take a photograph of the abutment, showing me exactly where the screw hole is positioned relative to the tooth. So in case I do have to go back in and tighten a screw, I at least have a guideline of where I can initiate the access opening into your access opening that will give me access to the screw. All right, guys, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Pavel Krastev, DDS here. Once again, thank you very much to the Thriving Dentist, and I look forward to seeing all of you again. Best of luck.